Okay, so here's the problem. I don't actually feel like sitting in front of my Xbox One and, having to string together a bunch of videos and then upload them and narrate them like that. So what I'm going to just do is I'm going to take the lazy way out, and I'm going to make this video with my iPhone 6s Plus 128 gigabyte, which is able to basically hold 3 or 4 hours worth of 4K footage. And the point of this video is to talk about the reasons why I really think Fallout 4, despite being an excellent Fallout game, is not as good as Fallout 3. Now, the first thing I'm going to open with, because I'm going to basically make a bunch of clips, just to talk about specific points. The first thing I want to talk about is the fact that if you haven't already bought the game, like if you're one of those poor people who's waiting for Christmas or Black Friday and you're going to wait out online and freeze to death or whatever, if you're choosing to do that, make sure you get the Xbox One version, because there have already been plenty of tests that shows that Fallout 4 achieves better performance on Xbox One than PS4. The problem with the PC version is the PC version, as you know, most PC games, because they have to adapt to a wide range of equipment, you're going to have some issues on the PC with glitches and bugs and video card problems and memory problems. So basically, be safe, get yourself an Xbox One, play it on Xbox One. The PS4 has been judged to be shit. So don't do that. You don't want to do that. Okay, so that's the first thing. Second thing, this game allows you to, just like Fallout 3, it allows you to get companions. I've had a lot of problems with the companions in the game. First of all, in Fallout 3, it was very easy to tell people what to do. All you did was you had a quickie dialogue with them, and you was like, yo, I want you to either go and attack everybody who's in this area, or what I want you to do is guard me, or this, that, and other. The problem with Fallout 4 that I've been having is a couple of problems. Number one, in Fallout 3, I partnered with the super mutant Fox, and I never actually met the dog, but I did partner with Fox, the super mutant, and I loved the fact that he had a power Gatling laser gun, and he basically would just go out and mow everybody down for me. In this game, instead of having him, they have a new mutant called Strong, and Strong likes to run around with a hammer. And the problem with a hammer is it doesn't have any range, and if he gets too close to the enemies gun him down really quickly, and he takes a knee. Now, your companions can't be killed, but the problem is if they take too much damage, they are out for the count. The first companion I met was the dog. The dog was kind of cool, but the problem is he has to run up to people, jump, and bite their necks and rip their throats out in order to kill them. That means that he gets close enough for melee damage, radiation damage, etc., etc. Or he can get shot when he gets close, and I didn't like that. Then there's Kate. I partnered with her. She carries a shotgun. Shotguns have short range. I wasn't very happy with her either. I needed a person who had a long range, like high cyclic rate weapon. There's Codsworth. Some people like Codsworth. I haven't met Curie yet. I haven't met Deacon yet. But the dog, I definitely put him down. I wasn't very happy with the dog. Then there's Hancock, Mancready, Nick Valentine. Nick Valentine I did meet, but I chose not to use him because I just wasn't very interested in him. There's also Paladin Dance, but he only accompanies you on certain missions. For most of the game, he's actually giving you missions in the very beginning of the game. There's Preston Garvey. I met him. I didn't want to partner with him, but I made partner with him. But I kind of like Fox replacement. I kind of like Strong. But the thing about it is there's a bug with the character does not use the weapon and equip it that you tell them to. So I have a problem with that. This is the guy Strong. And I like him because he's just big and strong, But the thing about it is he, thus far, hasn't really made me happy. And I guess it's because of bugs in the game. One of the things about the companions is that when you have a companion, instead of the old charisma system, your companions will like you or dislike you based upon the things you do. Certain companions like it when you pick locks and steal. Certain companions don't like it when you pick locks and steal. If you do things that the companions don't like, they can start to hate you, and they don't want to do what you ask them to do. If, however, you do everything that makes them happy, you can romance those companions, and basically they'll want to do everything for you. They'll be able to do more, and then once you get maximum approval, they give you special perks. Like, for instance, Paladin Dance gives you one that says gain 20% against feral ghouls when you damage them. Synths, super mutants, and feral ghouls. Now, everybody would love to have a 20% damage increase, because a lot of the enemies in this game are horribly leveled. When you're attacking certain enemies and you're going for nothing but headshots, even if you're hitting them, these guys do not go down easily. And one thing I noticed in Fallout 3, after about the first hour of play, the raiders were a little bit difficult to beat in the very beginning, but once I managed to beat a couple of them and level up just a little, I was able to swiftly move through the rest of the game until I come up to like super rad scorpions or enemies that had just outrageous amounts of health. But even them, like the super mutant berserkers, it's like I was able to beat them. But my only thing was, those battles made sense. When you're fighting smaller animals and smaller people and they look like regular humans, it's like, it doesn't make sense when you're taking headshots on them with rifles and shotguns and they're not going down in 1 or 2 shots. That kind of doesn't make sense. Now, I can understand if they're heavily armored, but in the cases that I'm talking about, they're not heavily armored. A lot of the things in Fallout 4 are not properly explained. There's a new system in the game where you build a base and you start a settlement. The problem with building bases and starting settlements is the game really doesn't explain it very well. There's a lot of different things that go into it. Like, for instance, if you're setting up power, like there are light bulbs to find in the game, there's wiring to find in the game. There's all types of stuff to find, and you can basically take it and bring it back to your base if you're able to have enough inventory space to hold on to it. Like, if you're finding pieces of steel, you have to choose whether or not you're going to use that to build your base or use that to help you repair your power armor. Problem is, the game doesn't explain this. When you open the box for this game, it doesn't really come with a manual. Now, if you have the PC version, you might get like a big README or something. But it feels to me like this game was designed in a way where they basically demand that you have to buy a guide to use the game. That's really not the way I expect a game like this to be. I expect a game like this to be pure wandering, quote, if you want to quote the name of the guy in the game is The Wanderer. To me, it seems that this game should be pure exploration, and you should be able to figure everything out on your own. But my problem is there's huge portions of this game that are not explained very well. Like, building a base is just one. Repairing power armor is another thing. It takes a long time just to figure out how you're supposed to use the power armor bases, or how you're supposed to swap out pieces of armor that have become damaged. And there's other things, like in Fallout 3, basically you would collect as many used guns and beat up and worn out guns as possible, and then you would use those to fix other guns that had been damaged. In this game, you don't do that anymore, and when you collect all types of weapons, they just sit in your inventory, and they sit there until, like, they weigh you down, or they sit there until you use them to sell them for new items. The story of Fallout 4, if you choose the male character, your wife and baby get into a cryopod, and basically what'll happen is the baby is kidnapped and your significant other is shot in the head and killed. And then when you awaken, it's up to you to go out and find your child. Now, I kind of liked Fallout 3's setup just a little bit better. In Fallout 3's setup, if you didn't already play the game, you're basically born as a baby and you have to go out and find your father. And I guess well, he leaves the vault, which is basically a protection for people underground, and you have to basically go out and find him. And for the most part, it was emotionally engaging just enough to keep you interested in running around and, you know, fighting monsters and trying to find out where he was. So I guess what they decided was this time that it would be more emotionally engaging if your wife gets killed in front of you and you have to go out and find your kid. So the story is pretty much just as in depth as the first game. I mean, or I should say Fallout 3. When it comes to actual emotional engagement, I would say both games are about the same. It's not very, very emotionally engaging, but it's enough carrot on the stick to keep you interested in playing. So yeah, this is the part right here where basically one of the outlaws or raiders comes and he kills your wife or your significant other and takes the baby. And this is what gets you to go out and go into the wasteland and journey around. It's pretty well, decently done. But one thing I have to say, like, the graphics are definitely sharper, the colors are definitely better on the Xbox One than they are on Fallout 3 if you were playing it on the original consoles like Xbox and PS3. Of course, you get the absolute best quality if you're on the PC. If you're on the PC, there's not a major improvement, I would say, as far as graphics go. But one thing I have to say is the Fallout 3 graphics, I didn't really have a problem with them. They were actually pretty good in and of themselves. What Xbox One and PS4 and the new PC version does is they add new levels of depth that the old games didn't have. So, you know, using power armor is deeper, being able to build bases is deeper, the companions, the amount of stuff that they can carry, the way everything works together is just a little bit more fleshed out. But ultimately, some people have been disappointed by the size of the game. They're saying that the Fallout 3 on the PC or the Xbox, or you know, the Xbox 360 or the PS3, they're saying that it was actually a bigger game for Fallout 3. But one thing people need to remember if they're going to make that criticism is that they've left this game open-ended. This time around, there is no level cap. So in having no level cap, they want to make it so that anytime they get ready to add stuff to this game, they can easily add stuff to this game and it will still make sense. The only problem with having no level cap is until you level up to level 15, which by itself takes 10 hours, give or take, of play. It's easy to level up to 15, but once you go past 15, the game gets a lot difficult. It gets a lot harder, a lot more difficult to level up to level 30. By the time you would get to level 30, the game's over, you're finished. Now, there's different ways of leveling up. You could go around completing side quests, you could go around just beating up insects and killing animals and this, that, and other. And you could keep doing that perpetually until you level up. But my thing about it was I really felt the level up system in Fallout 3 somehow felt, it just felt like more coherent. But that's just me. I mean, somebody else may think of it a different way. Me personally, Fallout is one of the few RPG titles that I'm willing to play. I didn't get Witcher 3, and I didn't buy Bloodborne. I really like Fallout because I don't like the fantasy elements of the other games. Like, I never even bought, like, Game of Thrones. I don't really like those fantasy elements. I like sci-fi fantasy. So Fallout captures me in a way which the other games don't. I would really appreciate it if the game's designers had put a little bit more detail about the power armor into the game. Power armor is absolutely necessary because first of all, it helps you carry more items, and you're going to need to carry a lot of items simply because the items can be sold and bartered. It also protects you from damage to some extent. It also protects you from radiation. So power armor is absolutely necessary in this game, and mastering the use of it becomes even more necessary. A lot of those things aren't explained very well, and because they're not explained very well, you end up in situations where you may not know what to do next. Like, for instance, I had actually got annoyed with the game and I paused it and stopped playing because I couldn't figure out how to get out of the power armor. There was never a button or dialogue that said, hey, if you want to get out of the power armor, what you have to do is hold the same button that you use to get in. Normally, there's some type of menu that says, okay, this is how you get in or out of something. But in this case, there just wasn't. And I was really surprised about that. It was as if it was a major oversight. As I said, some of your companions, normally the human companions, can get into and out of power armor with no problem. But my buddy Strong every time I want him to get in and out of it, he just tells me no. And he says, I can't do that right now. And that, that really annoys me. So I really, really hope that they can do something to help us figure this out a little bit easier and make playing and getting into the game easier. Because the thing about it is, if I didn't already know how to play Fallout from the third game, I would be very, very confused about how to go about handling situations in the fourth game. A lot of people didn't play the third game. Like the third game was a game of the year, and that helped it sell a little bit more. But the problem is there's still a large number of people who didn't play the third game who may be tempted to buy the fourth game. But the problem is they don't know the nuances of the game, and unless somebody explains it to them about why they really should play it, they might not buy it. But my thing is, if I had to tell somebody about buying one of these games, I would tell them to buy the third game rather than the fourth, because the third game, in many situations, I actually felt the third game was better designed. The fourth game is newer technology, but Fallout 3, in my opinion, even though both of these games are definitely A-level games, I have to give a higher score to Fallout 3 than I would to Fallout 4.
The new combat system is pretty much about the same as it was with Fallout 3, except that when you use VATS, the enemy can be moving while you're using VATS, and the numbers that you see in the VATS system change in order to represent how close the person is to you or how far the person is away, and thereby changes the likelihood of you being able to hit them with whatever weapon you're using. Now, there's so much in this game that it's very difficult for anybody to really just talk about it in any less than maybe a 30-minute to 1 hour review. So while I will say that the game is excellent, it definitely earned 5 out of 5 stars. If you were to expand that, you were somehow able to expand your grading curve to, let's say, out of a total of 100 points, this game might fall into the 90 or possibly lower, depending upon what system you play it on. I'll say it again, the PS4 version is not as good as the Xbox One version. The PC version is worse than both. Now, yeah, the graphics may be better on the PC version. You may be able to get a nude mode mod, which allows you to make all the characters naked. But the simple fact of the matter is, none of that does anything if you can't play the game. If you're dealing with glitches, like for instance, sometimes the game will simply stop and you'll have a problem, the game won't continue. Like the game will stop dead in its tracks and you'll have to reset whatever system you're using. That right there is, pretty much a deal breaker for some. When I had Fallout 3, there were certain issues that I had which reared their ugly head once again. Like for instance, you could be fighting and let's say a glitch happens and something doesn't activate the way it's supposed to, and you can be stuck and you have to revert to an earlier save point. Now RPGs typically have those problems nowadays because these computers in many cases are unreliable. But the smartest thing to do is quick save your game regularly. But when I say regularly, I mean that you have to damn near remember to quick save every couple of minutes, or right after you battle a boss, or right after you level up. And it's weird that this game is designed in a way where quick saves don't automatically happen when you level up in certain cases. Like the quick saving autosave feature is very strange because it doesn't always happen where you expect it to happen. Now, there is an option, depending upon what version you have, in order to make it so that quick saves will happen every couple, like 5 minutes, 10 minutes, something like that. But for the most part, you have to be very diligent about quick saving. You have to be on top of it. You have to be very diligent about quick saving. Graphics in the game are fantastic. I was playing the game on a 50-inch Vizio 1080p. It looks fantastic. Even if you have a 4K, it doesn't really matter because the Xbox and the PS4, they can't output at 4K. If you're playing on a 4K big screen and you're using a computer that has the power to output to 4K, oh, then you're in for a great graphical treat. But to tell you God's honest truth, I've seen what this game looks like in 4K using using my Titan GT, my Titan X 12 gigabyte video card, Core i7 and whatnot. And to tell you the truth, I prefer playing the game with the Xbox One simply because, once again, there's fewer glitches and there's no frame rate problems. So, and I'm not saying that you'll have frame rate problems. If you've got like a Radeon card, or if you're using dual Radeons, or if you have a 3 Radeon setup, the problem is, if you don't have those drivers just perfect, you never really know whether or not you're going to end up with some kind of game-ending glitch. So it's hard for me to just simply say that, oh yeah, the PC version just isn't as good, because the truth is the PC version is good. With the bugs worked out, it'll be even better. But my problem is, at current, my PC version is annoying to play, and I prefer to play the game on Xbox One. So all I'm saying is that if I'm playing this game on a 1080p Vizio at 50 inches, it looks fantastic. It's fun to play. It looks good. The PC version does have its perks. Like, for instance, you can use the nude mod, and there's other mods you can download, and you can make your Vault Wanderer look like whatever you want. That the PC will never be beaten in terms of expandability. It'll just never be beaten. But for the time being, I just wanted to play the game, and I prefer it on the Xbox One, and it appears that the PS4 version has a lot of problems. So, basically, everybody's going to have different feelings about this game, because, there's some people who have played, the first game, the second game, and the third game. There's some people who like the way the second game changed to the third game. There's some people who didn't. Some people like the isometric perspective. But Fallout 4 is an excellent game, and it looks great. If you like RPGs, it's a fantastic game. I just need them to work out the bugs, and I need them to fix certain issues that have arisen with the programming in the game. And I need them to fix the companions issues, and I need them to do something that helps explain what base building, how it all works, because the problem is trying to figure out most of this stuff is really, really difficult, considering how deep the game actually is.